All right, it is 7:02, so it's past time for us to get started. You know, when things seem to be going right, they never are fully going right. So we got all this internet stuff working pretty good, and it's working well. The live stream is going well, everything's going well with that, but this iPad tonight is not being cooperative. And so... And it was the one night. Now I did print it, but I've been printing off my slides just in case this wasn't working. Well, tonight I thought I'm not going to print off my slides. Now this thing is not working, so I've been upstairs. That's why I was down here late printing off. I have my slides, but they're printed off and I can't click them. So I told Alan he's going to have to be on the ball tonight clicking stuff. But I can't. It's for whatever reason this will not work correctly. So It's already got me sidetracked and thrown off and messed up and all that stuff. So that's where I'm at right in this second. All right. So anyway, a couple of announcements just for your knowledge is Friday night over at Emmanuel Free Baptist Church on Highland Drive. Dawson Road will be there. There's a singing group. Kevin Woolard, who was our pastor here for a while back. It's a group that he sings in, that he's a part of. And so they'll be over at Emmanuel Free Baptist Church, 7 o'clock this Friday night. There's not a cost to get in, but they will be taking an offering. They're doing a fundraiser thing for a new roof on their building. And so they're trying to raise some funds for that. So that's what they're doing for Friday night. So if you can go, they'd love to have you come and be a part of that Friday. On Saturday. Southern Gospel. Yeah, it's a Southern Gospel group, yes. We know it's not a rap group, but other than that, you got me all messed up now, Ashley. Saturday at 10 o'clock, they're having Brother Bobby's is leading this, but it is a senior adults and a young adults brunch and board games. So they'll be doing this over in the Family Life Center. They'll have some little snack things for you, brunch type of stuff. You don't have to worry about that, but they just say if you got a favorite board game you want to bring it with you. And hopefully there'll be some senior adults there, and hopefully there'll be some young adults there. And the whole point is just for getting to know each other. I've been preaching and talking about how we ought to know each other, get to help each other, do these things. This is a good way to do that, so you can come and be a part of that. And I would say if you are, what is a senior adult age that starts at? 90? No, I don't think I think it's before you get to 90. 60 and above? I would say probably, if I had to say something, I'd say 55. But that's up to you. And I say 55 because I'm not there yet. I'm getting close, but I'm not there yet. I'm not going to 50. 50 is... yeah, to you. All right, so if you are over 55, you may not say, I'm not in that senior adult thing. It don't matter. If you are 55 and over, come Saturday morning, be a part of this, see what's going on, check it out. Let me just tell you this, and you have my permission. If you don't like it, go home. But come and check it out anyway and see what's going on. Because here's what I guarantee. You don't know if you don't like it if you don't show up. So go check it out and see what's going on with that. Also, out in the hallway, you see we're still collecting Easter candy for an Easter egg hunt that's coming up the end of the month. So if you'd like to donate that, make sure it fits in an Easter egg. Pre-wrapped, too. Don't get the ones that are not, you open a bag up and you just eat the Skittles right out of them. We need them in a bag or something because it's kind of nasty if you just put them in there without being wrapped. Now, if you want to bring those, again, they will disappear, but they won't be in the Easter eggs. Also, WAC is collecting breakfast snacking items for Harvest Children's Home. So if you'd like to bring some of that is until the 20th of this month. So if you'd like to do that, you can bring that, and they will get that to them. Some prayer requests just to bring to your attention tonight. We do have several unspoken requests. Also pray for several unsaved family members and loved ones that many of us may have and know about. And then there's still several sick people that we need to keep in our prayers. So keep them in your prayers. V. Diaz, we've been continuing to pray for his mother and sister who are in Maryland, who have different health issues with them. Don Edwards' son and stepdaughter with the health issues that they have. Abby in Japan, I talked to her this morning for just a little bit. She told me that she's getting tired of this moving thing already. She's having to, the stuff that she's keeping, she's having to put into a storage. The stuff that she's not keeping, she's having to sell, and she has until next Monday to get all this stuff done. And so she's stressing out with all that, and she doesn't like it a whole lot. But the exciting thing is she will be home in a couple weeks. So I'm happy about that. I'm going to throw this out here, Miss Bobby. I was talking to Miss Bobby. Miss Bobby asked me a question last week, and I just want to share this in case you have a question. I hate to be the one that's doing this because I'm not the fundraiser person. She asked me, Abby's coming home. Do we still, if we're giving money to her account monthly, do we keep doing that? The answer to that is yes, technically. She is planning to go back. So her plan is she's going to continue doing this, so she still needs that support even while she's here, because that's why she's here. She's trying to raise those funds back to be able to go back to do those things. And so if we cut it off while she's here, then it's going to take her a long time for her to ever get back. And so, yes, it is a continuing thing. That is why she'll be here. She will be here for about 10 days, and then she'll be gone for about 3 or 4 weeks. She has other engagements that she has to go to, debriefing things and other stuff that she's going to. So she'll be gone for a little while, and then she'll be back, and then she'll be kind of gone back and forth. She has a church in Arkansas, or not a church, a WAC group in Arkansas has asked her to come and speak there. A WAC group in Georgia has asked her to come and speak there. And so she's got places that she's going to be traveling to and things. So the big prayer for when she does get home, prayer one, that she gets home and everything's safe and she gets rid of all the stuff where it's supposed to be. And two, that she'll be safe while she's here, because she has a lot of traveling to do while she's here. Also on this list, continue to pray for some of these ones that we have on this list: Margie McGowan, Barbara Stocks, Margie Woolard, Sandra Buck, Jean Smith. I even added Miss Chris on here. It's good to see Miss Chris. I know she has some good days and some bad days, but continue to pray for them as they go through different health issues that they have. Eddie Moss and his kidney troubles, and then recovering from sickness. And I've already had these printed and down here, and I come walking out of my office, and he was standing upstairs. So he is doing much better. And is here tonight. He's upstairs on the live stream stuff, but continue to pray for him, and let's thank God that he is doing better enough that he's here, and so I'm glad that he is here and feeling better. Beverly Adams' sister, Pat Meekins, and her health issues. Julie Smith's sister, who is in hospice. Miss Lois Corey's boys, Chris and Hardy Jr., and then also for Hardy Ray Sr., Timothy Webster's mother, who has cancer. Billy Campbell's sister, who's still struggling with Alzheimer's, or still struggling to get her moved to a different facility. He says he's talked to the places, and he'll call them and call them, and he's not getting any specific answers, just trying to get her into a closer facility. So keep them in your prayers. Also for our classes that are going on around our facility here with Awana, our teen class, and our young adult classes, as they're doing different things. Continue to pray for Eric Pushman, my friend in Tennessee, who still has leukemia. Sydney and Drew, my son and my daughter and son-in-law, who's be going to St. Croix in June, leading a group of teenagers. So keep them in your prayers. Chuck Warren, who's going through chemotherapy. Again, good to see him here tonight. He's had a blood clot and some different things, and so I'm imagining that the medicine is working somewhat.
Seems to be working.
All right, good. So that's good that he is able to be here tonight, but keep him in your prayers as he has some chemo still to go, a PET scan coming up after a while, so keep him in your prayers. Linwood Ambrose, who's taking chemotherapy treatments as well, and he's possibly going to be going to Chapel Hill. I put Raleigh in here because I couldn't think of the word Chapel Hill, so I put Raleigh. I know they're in the same area, but keep him in your prayers as he'll be headed there. Miss Sylvia Ratcliffe's brother in Georgia, who's in hospice. Jesse Smith's friend, Blaney Taylor, who has cancer in the kidney. Brenda Gillum's daughter, Christy, with the different health needs that she may have. Richard James's friend, Irina's mother, her name is Maria, and she's in the hospital in Russia, still struggling with this heart thing and trying to figure out what to go and where to go from there. Do you have any?
She's supposed to get her
supposed to get a second opinion tomorrow about what they're going to do, so pray for her. Marty Martin's grandson Malachi and his different family issues that he is going through. Also Marty's daughter Stephanie, who's going to be having neck surgery next month. Bob and Jan Burrows and their health issues that they've been going through. It's been good to see them on Sundays, but I know they're still struggling, so keep them in your prayers as well. Adrian Boyd's aunt, Sandra Boyd, who has brain cancer. Beverly Adams' granddaughter, Daria, and her depression that she's going through. Ashley Harris's daughter-in-law's grandfather, who has lung cancer. Elizabeth's niece, Georgia Sharon, who has Crohn's disease. Keep her in your prayers. She's back from Minnesota? Okay. All right. Continue to pray for her, though. She's back from the hospital, but, there's still a little ways to go with those things as well, so keep her in your prayers. Barbara Berry and her eye issue, is it still getting better? All right, good. So we're glad to hear that. God answering prayers there. Rebecca Heller's friend, Juanita, and son Desmond, who has this disease that he has, and just keep Desmond in your prayers. And then Rebecca asked me also, she's been having some pains in her legs, so keep her in your prayers with her legs as well. Let me write that on here. Miles Alzad, just the different health problems that he's been going through. V, you're upstairs up there. Do you know anything that's going on with Miles right now?
As far as I know, he went to the doctors. He was having a lot of issues with vomiting and stuff like that. That's as far as I know.
Okay. So he's still struggling quite a bit, and this baby's not quite even a year old, so keep him in your prayers. Dennis Hawkins, he's in the hospital over in Greenville. I've had some people say, well, how come you haven't put a one call out? Well, because I have talked to them, and one of the reasons is it's continually changing. And, I don't want to put out something, he has to do this, he has to do this. One thing that I can tell you from my visit with them today is the rumor is he's going to have a heart transplant. The truth is he probably needs one, but he is not a candidate for it. So he's not going to be able to have that heart transplant. So they're trying to treat a lot of these things with some medicines and get him doing better. He was hoping that they would come in and tell him he could go home today, but I haven't heard anything. If not today, he's hoping tomorrow. His strength is going back up. He wasn't able to walk unassisted a couple days ago, but he is now walking around a lot more. But he is a sick boy, but keep him in your prayers. But he is not a candidate for that, so that is not something that will be happening. That is one thing, I heard, hey, he's having this. Oh, he's having this. And then I went and talked to him. Well, he's not having this. That's what they thought about. So that's why I haven't put out anything from Sunday. Just keep Dennis in your prayers. There's a lot of things. It's still continuing to change. And so just keep them in your prayers. Also, Jackie Sadler had hand surgery, and it's just they had to do more than what he was expecting them to do, and so it's taking a while for it to heal. Excuse me, so keep him in your prayers as well. Is there anything that I have left off or any other prayer requests that I could add to this?
I want to add Brian, our son-in-law. He was out sick Sunday, and he found out Monday's got the flu.
Okay.
He's already missed 2 days of school, Monday and Tuesday.
All right. Bobby and Bobby's son-in-law, Brian, who they found out he has the flu. So keep Brian in your prayers. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Just an update on Billy. He had gone up to Buffalo to see his aunt who's dying. And while he was up there, he got a call from his daughter. Billy's son-in-law has had either a massive heart attack or a very serious heart issue. He's in intensive care. And the last he heard, they weren't sure if they were going to be able to save him. And so he's kind of racing now from Buffalo to Virginia.
So if you didn't hear that, Billy Campbell is up visiting in Buffalo. His aunt, who is basically, she's dying, and he went up to see her before she passed away. And so he went up to see her. And while he's in Buffalo, he gets a call that his son-in-law has had a massive heart attack in Virginia. They don't know if he's going to be able to survive it or not yet. And so Billy's having to go from Buffalo down to Virginia. Let me tell you, keep Billy in your prayers. Pray for his son-in-law, but keep Billy in your prayers. It seems like one thing after another with him. It's not always been him. It's been other things. It's wearing on him. So keep Billy in your prayers. I hate that. All right. Anything else? All right, well, let's pray, and we'll get started tonight. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for all that you do for us every day, Lord. And, God, we've mentioned all these prayer requests here. We went through the whole list, God, and you've heard all of them as we mentioned them. But, God, I just pray for Billy tonight. God, I know that he's got a lot on his plate. And God, I know it's wearing him down physically and mentally. And God, I just pray that you'll give him that strength that he needs during these times. And God, help for us as a church to be encouraging to him, to lift him up in our prayers. But God, also to give him a phone call or a card or send him something that he just knows that he's not alone through these issues that he's going through. And so, God, I just pray for Billy tonight and just ask for your blessings upon him. And then, God, also for Dennis Hawkins, Lord, he's, again, another one that's just been going through a lot of things here lately. And, God, with his heart issue and the things that they've been telling him, Lord, I pray that you will be with him. God, I thank you that he's still encouraged, he's still happy, but I know that on the inside he's struggling. And, God, I just pray that you'll be with him and be with Miss Deborah as well as she's trying to care for him and take care of him, Lord. I pray that you'll give her the strength that she needs as well during this time. God, there's several others that we have mentioned tonight, Lord, that I know that you've heard. And so, God, I just pray that you'll touch each one, be with the ones who are sick. God, I pray that you'll give healing to them, help for them to feel better. And, God, I just ask for your blessings upon all of them. And God, we just lift this up to you tonight. We ask for you to take care of it how you see fit. And we just give it to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, Alan, I'm going to have to go through this. You're going to have to click them for me because I can't get this thing on, and I'm not going to mess with it anymore. So bad joke of the day, all right? I had to put a couple pictures with these because I wanted you to fully see some of these things. But the first one is this. When is the best time to wash your slinky? I didn't want to just put wash your slinky and you'd be like, what is a slinky? You know what a slinky is. It's this thing right here. All right, so I had to put a picture of it. So when is the best time to wash your slinky? Well, the best time is during spring cleaning. All right, that's a good one. The picture helps, doesn't it? Yeah. All right, the next one is this. What do gardeners wear on their legs? What do gardeners wear on their legs? Garden hose. Look at the picture. That helps to figure it all out. All right, that's why I had to put some pictures up here to help you with all these things. All right, we're going to continue tonight talking about The Church in Babylon, a book by Erwin Lutzer. We've been talking about this for several weeks. We're in chapter 5, part 3, and tonight what we're going to look at is the home and the gatekeeper, and we're going to talk about parenting. And I know some of you guys are still parenting. You have kids at home. Some of you guys are beyond those parenting. You're in the grandparent days, and so that's fine because this can apply to all of us here because if you have kids or grandkids, it can work with you. Now, if you don't have kids, maybe you will one day. Who knows? But whatever it is, this is where we're going with it tonight. And so the first thing I want you to see is this. The Word of God gives an interesting indictment in the book of Ezekiel. And so I want us to look at what this verse says in Ezekiel. It says in Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 26, it says, "Her priests have done violence to my law and have profaned my holy things. They have made no distinction between the holy and the common. Neither have they taught the difference between the unclean and the clean. So we see this verse and we see what Ezekiel the prophet is saying here. And as we look into the next slide here, it says it's the responsibility of the parents. I believe, most importantly even the father, to teach children the difference between the clean and the unclean. And that's what he's talking about. We've missed and we've forgotten these things. We're not doing what we're supposed to do in teaching between these things. What is clean and what is unclean? What's going on here? The father has a responsibility to protect himself and his family from the would-be intruders, things that would come in. And we're not just talking about the bad guy who tries to break through the door. We're talking about even things on the inside. When we're talking about electronics and media and things that we have there, we need to protect these things. But I want you to see also this. If there is no father in the home, then some other gatekeeper, most likely the mother, has to take charge. There has to be someone there as the gatekeeper. If we're in a marriage and the husband and wife are there, I believe it's the father's responsibility to take care of his family and those in there. But there's a lot of homes where there isn't a father there. And the thing I say is, listen, then that gatekeeper drops down to the mother, and that mother needs to take care of and protect her home that she has. To reference the message of the late pastor Mark Brubeck, he said this. He said, we are faced with the challenge of raising lambs among wolves. We're trying to protect our children and raise our little lambs. But there's so many wolves out there trying to get a hold of our children. We need to be careful and protect them. Peter wrote these words before the internet and smartphones were ever thought about. Peter was writing. He was very smart. Internet hadn't come around. They didn't have all these things that we have today. I don't know if you've ever been in foreign countries and seen the Roman aqueducts. I mean, they didn't have all those things that we have today that we just don't even think twice about. Peter didn't have electronics. He didn't have electronics, yet he wrote in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 11, he wrote this. He said, beloved, I urge you as sojourners and exiles to abstain from the passions of the flesh which wage war against your soul. Be careful about these things. Listen, you're a sojourner, you're an exile, you're sojourning through this world. Listen, the Bible tells us this world is not our home. Heaven is our home. As a believer, heaven is our home. We're just passing through here. We're just going through here. So he says, while you're here, while you're going through on this journey, he said, abstain. That means stay away from. Don't get involved with it. Run. Abstain from the passions of the flesh. Those things that wage war against your soul. Be careful with those things. Well, we have all experienced that war. Sometimes we've lost that war. Sometimes we've won that war. That war has been there with the things that have come up. We get stuck with passions, and sometimes we nope, not going to do those things, and sometimes we fall into it. It happens to all of us. Surveys show that most parents have no idea what their children are watching. Now think about that. We have no idea what their children are watching. And it has become harder now because on this phone right here that's in my pocket that I carry with me everywhere I go, I can watch just about anything that I want to watch. So can our kids. They can get onto these things and they can do this stuff. And so we have to be careful because we don't know what they're watching. So we need to watch those things. One father said this. He said, don't blame me for the fact that all our kids are messed up. I'm never home. To me, that's kind of part of the problem, maybe. Part of the problem that's there is he's never home, and that's why maybe some of the kids are messed up because you're not home. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to begin with ourselves, the parents. And even in this group here, we're either the parents or the grandparents. And so I want us to look and see some of this stuff. As parents, we have to prepare our own lives for personal holiness. If we are the parent, the grandparent, every time I say parent, I just want you to automatically assume if you're a grandparent and you don't have the kids in the home, you automatically think I'm talking to you too, okay? And you have to remember also that you still are a parent, regardless of how old they are. So here's the thing. We need to prepare our own lives for personal holiness. Why should we expect them to do something that we're not doing? We need to be careful with that. Parents who are addicted to technology and all its temptations will lose their moral authority to discipline their children about it. Look, if you are addicted and on that all the time, that's all you're ever on, you're going to lose your authority to be able to tell your kids, hey, you don't need to be on that all the time. Or usually what happens is, hey, you don't need to get off your phone. You lose authority when you do that. We can't be doing those things. We have to be careful. Many a father has found himself tongue-tied, unable to admonish or discipline his son because he, the father, is guilty of the same behavioral pattern. They're doing the same thing. They're trying to get their kids not to do it. And so basically what they end up saying is what? Do as I say, not as I do. And kids pick up on that pretty easily and pretty quickly. We have to be careful. The New York Post recently shared the results from children receiving trauma counseling. And they highlighted the crushing emotional effect of phone-obsessed parents. Now, there was other things in this article that I went to and got this information from. There's other things in there, but I tried to focus, because this is what we're talking about, is phones and technology and things. So I tried to focus on that for a minute. The heartbreaking comments that were made during sessions with a counselor named Courtney revealed how deeply impacted children were by their parents who incidentally ignored them. Incidentally. I said that right. Did I say that right? Okay. I read that, and even when I was writing it this afternoon and looking through stuff, I was thinking, is that saying that right? Because those kind of words are not words that are in my vocabulary every single day. And so I looked at my wife when I shouldn't have, and I should have just trusted my instinct there. I had it. All right. So we'll go on here. So this interview revealed how deeply impacted children were by their parents who ignored or were dishonest with their children. They didn't do it on purpose, but they were dishonest with them. They were ignoring their children and doing so. So it shows what they do. One of the most devastating comments came from a 9-year-old child who told their counselor that their parents are always busy or on their phone. And then the child said, "Why am I here? It makes me want to just leave," the child said. "Why am I even here? They don't pay attention to me. They're ignoring me. They're always on their phone. They're always doing something else." A 6-year-old told her that they felt less important than their parents' devices. They said, "I wish I was important as their phone." This is what children are saying. A 6-year-old. A 9-year-old said, My mom is too busy, she says, but she texts her friends all day. Why not just tell me the truth? She's just avoiding me." These are what children are thinking because their parents become addicted to these things. And again, listen, kids get on these things all the time, but so do parents. And sometimes we're quick to judge them before we look at ourselves. Unconquered sin makes parents angry and passive, unable to speak to moral issues that need resolution because, hey, I can't fix I'm not able to keep myself from doing it. I'm having a hard time telling my kid about it, and I'm just struggling. So we have struggles, and we hurt. And I don't know what God will demand of you to be victorious over your own issues that you may have of anger, disrespect, lust. But I want us to look at what Jesus said, all right? What we do with ours and how we do it is one thing, but I want you to look at what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5. He said, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out, throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell. Now, I even mentioned this Sunday, or I don't know if it was this Sunday, one of these past 2 Sundays talked about this a little bit. And I don't believe, of course, that Jesus wasn't necessarily speaking literally. Because you could gouge out your right eye because your right eye is causing you to sin, but you know what you still have? You still got your left eye. And your left eye is still going to cause you to sin. And remember, we did that illustration. If you cut off your right hand, the guy in England, the guy cut off his right hand because he was stealing. Well, he got caught stealing with his left hand. Then they cut off both of his hands, and then he got caught stealing with his mouth. I don't know how in the world he did that, but he was doing it. But I believe what Jesus is saying, he says, do what is drastic. Do whatever you have to do in order to find the help that you need to be delivered from the snare of sensuality. Whatever you need to do, do it. Do these things. If you need to take your phone and throw it in the river, whatever it takes, do something drastic is what he's saying. As parents, grandparents, we must model Christian behavior. If you don't want your children to watch certain programs, then you shouldn't be watching them either. If you're watching something and a risque commercial comes on, and you like flip the channel because your kids, your grandkids, listen, use that time to discuss with your child why you turned it. Don't just turn it and they don't have a clue. Maybe they're just channel surfing. Use that time to talk with them about it. Talk about the power of sensuality and how the advertising industry thrives on these things. They're trying to sell it like this, and this is what they're doing, and those things are not good. We need to be careful of those things. We can't expect our children to live one way if we are living another. Make the use of teachable moments as they come along. Something happens on here, man, listen, the older they get, the easier it is, right? You have discussions with your children about certain things. Hey, I know my girls still to this day, they're in their 20s, and they still, something come on, we'll be talking about. We'll sit there and talk about the whole thing. When this Super Bowl commercial came on about Jesus gets us. He gets us. Both of my daughters, hey, Dad, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And we had conversations about those things. And we talked about what I think I felt about it. And so we talked about those things, and it was interesting conversations, still in their 20s, and we still having conversations about TV commercials that come on. But I want you to get, if a father and mother are angry with each other, and they disagree on the principles of discipline and rules that they should have, children, listen, because they're kids, and kids really are not that dumb, kids will take advantage of the confusion. Oh, mom and dad are arguing about what they want to do, so let's see if we can pin one against the other and see what we can get going here. And maybe they'll just get mad at each other and forget about us. Now listen, those things happen. Happens a lot. Kids are not dumb, and they do these things. But I want you to get this. Parents, at all cost, you must be unified. Listen, if Melinda and I disagreed on something, we tried and tried and tried never to sit there and argue about it in front of the kids. Can I say that we were 100% successful at that 100% of the time? Probably not. But we would leave and walk off, and we'd go somewhere, and we'd say, well, what did you think about that? Well, what did you think? And we'd have it out right then, not over there in front of the girls. We need to be unified. Parents must be unified if they intend to protect their children from these distracting forces that are within their home, the things that are coming at them from within. We need to be unified on what we're going to do, how we're going to do that. We should also remember that the shaming only fuels addiction. If you're putting them down and trying to shame them, you're only going to fuel what they're supposed to be, what they want to be doing. They don't want me to do this. I need to check more into it. Only an open and understanding attitude can create an atmosphere of help and moral sanity. We have to be careful how we do these things. We need to be on the same page with each other and watch out. To the single parent, first of all, God bless you if you're a single parent. It's not easy being a parent with a mate. I know it's tough being a single parent. But mothers have to be the mother and the father of their child, and it's hard. Fathers must also be the mother to their child. It's hard. I am so glad that I had Melinda, because I would not be a good mother. My girls already tell me, and they still tell me, that I don't have any heart and I don't cry. In a loving way. And I don't have the hair for it either. Yeah. So, yeah, they give me a hard time with those things. But we have to be careful because it's difficult, and I know it's hard. But I want single parents, father or mother, to remember this. All isn't lost. God is still on your team. God is greater than your brokenness. He's greater than your loss. He's greater than families affected by divorce. He's greater than unplanned pregnancies. He's greater than death. He's greater than all of these things. And we have to remember that God is on our side even through these tough times. I want you to look at the imagery that we see in the book of Proverbs, chapter 25. I want you to see the imagery here. It says in verse 28, a man without self-control is like a city broken in and left without walls. Into and left without walls. Now, before we go to the next slide, before you go anywhere, I want you to get that picture in your head. Think about that. The place where they lived at that time, their cities were fortified and protected by the walls that they built around them to keep the bad guys from coming out. They had the gates that they had around there. They usually had guards at their gates to protect who came in and out. Now, were they always successful? Can people sneak in? I'm sure they can. Can people climb walls? Sure, sometimes they can. But listen, what he's saying here is, listen, if you don't have self-control, you're like a city that it's been broken into and the walls have been torn down. People can just come and go as they want to. That's the image that he's wanting you to get, and that's what I want you to think about and get. And it's a picture of a life without safeguards. Whatever enemy is outside the walls can enter in, whether they're invited or whether they're uninvited. They can come in because you don't have the walls up. You don't have the safeguards up there. I'm not going into political here, all right? But you can take that and probably run with that pretty good, but I'm not going to. Randy. Without self-control, our heart is like an open door that welcomes every enticing image that we may see, or every idea that carries us off to the world of a worthless imagination. The things that if we don't try to safeguard and protect our home, protect ourselves, then we're just letting anything come in that wants to come in. There needs to be a protection there. There needs to be something there to take care of those things. So, what specifically should parents do? And that gets us into, there's 7 things that we're going to look at tonight. We're only going to look at the first 2, and then we'll go from there. But the first thing is this. Establish a healthy and workable relationship with your child. That's important. You need to have a healthy and workable relationship. Josh McDowell frequently says this. He says, rules without relationship leads to rebellion. You can tell them all the time all these things, but if you don't have a relationship and love on them, they're going to rebel against it. Because why should I keep these rules? You don't love me anyway. As a parent, if you only condemn your children for what they're doing or seeing on their electronic devices, then that will put an end to all communication. If all you're ever doing is jumping on them about what's on their phone and what they're doing all the time, and you keep saying that all the time, listen, they're going to stop talking to you about it. And they're going to stop bringing things to you to show you, hey, what do you think about this? Why do you can't believe you're doing this? Blah, 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 blah. And if you just listen, invite the questions. Oh, dude, we shouldn't be looking at this. This is why, because this is not good stuff. We need to be staying away from these things. Invite. You have a relationship with them. Let them know things that are going on. You must enter into your child's world, or grandchildren's world. And that can be difficult sometimes. But we don't need to condemn, and we need to try and understand, to guide, to connect with them. Listen, you guys all look at me, and I know what you're thinking a lot of times. Darren's just a big old kid. And that's all right. I can handle that. It doesn't bother me at all. I hope when I'm my dad's age, which is really old, that people will still look at me like a big kid. Because here's the thing, listen, I try to connect. I try to see what's going on. Listen, do you know I could care less about Hannah Montana? I never really liked it a whole lot, but I could sing the song. I watched some of the episodes. Me and Melinda took Abby and Sydney to go see Hannah Montana in concert live. Why? Because we're trying to connect with our kids so we know what they're listening to, we know what they're involved in. And at the time, listen, I want you to know, she was still a little Miss Innocent Hannah Montana. Now, times have changed, but that was then. But you know what happened because of that? When the change started happening and Hannah Montana stopped being Hannah Montana and she started being more the Miley Cyrus and started doing some things that shouldn't be done, you know what? My girls came to us and they said, I don't know that we should be watching her anymore. And I was like, well, why? Why? Please tell me. Well, because she's got this new song that come out and this not very nice. Well, then we probably need to stay away from that. And I walk away and I'm like, yes. And they walk away thinking, yes, I'm smart, I did it, all right. So see, listen, we have to be able to connect with them, understand. It's not always easy. Sometimes you have to go to a stadium with 23,000 little screaming girls yelling to the top of their lungs, and I had to go out and I said, hey, I'll go out and buy the little t-shirt for them. I'll go out there and stand in the hallway where I'm not listening to all this stuff. And I did. I went out there and stood in line for 30 minutes because I didn't want to have to listen to all. But you know what? You do those things. Because we're trying to connect with our kids. We're trying to love them. After you have won a hearing, you can be more direct and helpful. You know, you've connected with them, and so now you're when something comes up, you can say, hey, listen, we shouldn't do that. And they'll be more apt to listen to you because you have connected with them. Parents must remember that their child is a sexual creature, created in the image of God as either a male or a female. That is how God created us. God built into our natures, though, a deep and unrelenting desire to connect with the opposite sex. We want to connect with them. That's why when you were little, I mean, you may be a long time ago, you got all those butterflies in your stomach when she came walking by. Because you had a desire to develop a relationship with that person. You're thinking, oh man, what am I going to say now? And then you're like, hey. And you remember writing a note back in those days because we didn't have phones. Write a note with a box, check yes or no. I like you. Do you like me? Yes or no? You know? Hey, I saw those things. I had those things. But listen, it is always there. We have to be careful about what we do. I'm trying to see where I'm at here. Did I turn the Man, you've got me all messed up now. Okay, I got you now. This desire, there you go. This desire is innate. It's inside of us. It seeks satisfaction, and it will not take no for an answer. Hey, I like that girl. She may not like me, but I really do like her. I'm still in love. I'd always tell the teens, I'd say, how you doing? I see that's on your face. That's what you're thinking. You like that girl. Look, this urge is not necessarily to be condemned, but it needs to be controlled. It needs to be channeled in the right direction. Hey, I'm glad that my girls saw some boys and they were all like, hee, 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 hee. And I'd be like, hee, hee, what are you thinking? Oh, very good. But hey, be careful. Watch it. Be part of it. Be with them. Unfortunately, though, you will almost certainly be able to keep your child from seeing some sort of explicit material, either at home, at school, at a friend's house. It's going to come. Sometimes the more we try to build the wall around them, the harder it is to keep them in there. We have to be careful with that. The only good relationship with a parent or guardian, only a good relationship with a parent or guardian can give the child perspective and alternatives to this seductive bottomless pit when it comes up. Listen, you need to have that relationship so when those times come, they'll come to you. They'll seek your advice. So the first thing is we need to establish a healthy and workable relationship with our child. That's number one. Number two is this. Become educated about the resources available to block material on an electronic device or television. There are things that they make now that you can set things on phones, on televisions, on different things that timers or you're not allowed on from this time to this time, and certain things that you can put on there. There are parental controls that you can be a part of, and so we need to be educated about some of these things. Allow computers and tablets and other such devices to be used, but use them in public space. They don't need to be hiding behind things. Try not to let them have it in their bedroom alone. That is hard, but hey, if you can, try to prevent them from going in there. Because listen, if they're in a public space, sitting in the living room working on these things, you see what's going on. But they go in the bedroom, you don't know what's going on. We need to be careful. It's not always, listen, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying these are some things that we ought to try and see what we can do to help with this. And it's harder the older that they get. And that's why you have to develop a relationship with them. That's why you need to find blocking materials. I know when my girls first got their phones, listen, I told them, I said, look, you can't be on that phone after a certain time. And there's a thing on your phone that you could set, and when a certain time come on, boom, after 10 o'clock at night, it shuts off. They have no more Wi-Fi, no more nothing on their phone. So it was gone. Now, did they complain and gripe about those things? Yes. It killed me too. We had certain data at that time. Now you got unlimited data. You go all day long. But it had certain data limits that you could have. And so I gave my kids, they had a certain number of data limits. And when it was cut, they couldn't be on there anymore. But the problem was, I never figured out exactly how to do all of those things. And so they would go over their data limit, and then I'd get the bill that was even bigger. So I had to work on those things. So you have to be educated about it. You have to figure out what's going on. The number of children who stay awake spending time on their favorite addiction instead of sleeping is very high. According to PBS NewsHour, I'm not saying that this is the greatest source, but this is according to them. A newly released analysis found that the number of U.S. teens who reported sleeping less than 7 hours a night jumped 22% between 2012 and 2015. So it jumped up that they started sleeping less than 7 hours a night between those years. Okay, so we see that there. Most sleep experts, now this is a hard thing here, but most sleep experts agree that teens need at least 9 hours of sleep a night. That seems like a long time, but that's what they agree that they need to have. By 2015, 43% of teens reported sleeping less than 7 hours a night on most nights, meaning almost half of U.S. teens are significantly sleep deprived. They're not getting the sleep that they need. They're sleeping less than 7 hours. There was one large change in the teens' lives between 2012 and 2015. More of them began owning smartphones. And because of that, they were able to stay up late, because when they go in the room and they don't have a smartphone, there ain't nothing else to do but go to sleep. But when you have that phone and you have that computer and you have that tablet and all those things, you have more stuff you can sit there and mess with. And not necessarily that it's all bad stuff, but it keeps you up. And it does those things. A 2014 study found that 80% of teens admitted to using their phones when they were supposed to be sleeping, a practice some call vamping, and some said that they stayed up most of the night when their parents thought that they were in their room sound asleep. But they were staying up most of the night messing around on things. Past research has also shown that 70% of teenagers accidentally come across pornography on the internet. And we can be sure far more children are exposed once they intentionally begin to seek it out. They accidentally got on there, and that's a lot of them. 70% of teenagers, 70%, 7 out of 10 teenagers accidentally got onto a porn website. And then what they began to do was go there intentionally. Parents have to set ground rules regarding when and how computers, electronic devices can be used. And teach children that what to do if they do come upon or stumble upon accidentally some pornographic site. Hey, this is what you should do. We don't just need to say, okay, don't get on there, don't say it, and then walk away and never check on it, never know anything that's going on. Be afraid to have those conversations. Listen, have those conversations with your children, your grandchildren. Let them know, hey, listen, that's not something that we need to be doing. Be careful. There's a lot of stuff out there, and the devil wants to ruin your life. Be careful what you're doing. Now listen. Go to the next one. Filters, there we go. Filters of various kinds can be installed on phones, on televisions, on different things. Check their browser logs every once in a while to see where they've been surfing. See what they've been doing. What do you say to a child who argues and says, you just don't trust me? When you insist that there be, hey, don't have your electronics in there, you shouldn't be on there, especially at nighttime. Listen, you need to go in there and go to bed. Don't get in there and get on your phone. And they say, oh, you just don't trust me. Well, you could respond by saying, no, I don't trust you. And it can be hard for anybody, even me. It's not easy. There's dangers out there. Be careful, and no, I don't trust that you're going to be completely safe if you have that in your room with you. Be careful what you do. Children should never have unrestricted right to privacy in a home. Now listen, that goes beyond some people's thoughts there. They shouldn't just have unrestricted privacy. Now, I don't mean that you should be able to just go in and barge in all the time. And so, I mean, that could get, there's some things that there should be some privacy there. But what I'm saying is unrestricted, like, well, this is my phone. You can't, who pays for that phone? Who bought that phone for you? Who would you like to continue paying for that? You know, then let me look at it every so often. Let me check it out here. So we have to have interaction with them. We should be respectful with them, but we need to be clear and we need to be firm. And I know that that's not the most popular thing, but we have to be careful. We need to avoid a herd mentality. Just because all fourth graders are getting their own smartphone doesn't mean that your child or grandchild should have one. Sydney thought we were the meanest parents ever because Abby had a phone and she didn't. Abby turned 13. She was at P.S. Jones, 7th grade. She was playing basketball. She was gone and traveling. She'd come back late from away games that we weren't always able to go to. And so we got her a cell phone when she was 13. Sydney was 10, and she was upset because Abby has one and I don't have one. You're not 13. And the only reason we got Abby one was because, you know, when you get back from an away game, I wanted to know when to pick you up. Let me know. And many times at that age, it's like, okay, where are you at? I don't know, but they said we'll be home in about this time. They don't have a clue where they're at. But they would call me and let me know. And so those were important things at that time, but you need to set, just because everybody else did, and you know, listen, we struggled for a long time because, well, such and such got a phone, and such over here's got a phone. How come I can't have a phone? Hey, it's a struggle. I've been through it. We've been through it. Melinda and I have been through it. But just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean they have to do it. Your child may hate you for your strictness, but they may grow to love you even more when they're older and realize what you were trying to spare them from. Once they get older and see those things. It may be difficult, but that's what we're trying to do. So we need to, number two, this thing here is we need to become educated about the resources available to block materials on electronic devices or television. We need to watch those things. Be careful about that. Now, the next week, I'm hoping to get the rest of these done, but next week what I want to look at is finishing chapter 5 here, is number 3, be watchful for what your child is learning and seeing at school. Listen, as parents and even grandparents, and you're taking care of your children, your grandkids, listen, we need to know what's going on. Don't just assume that everything is hunky-dory and okay. Ask them questions. Talk to them. They may hate answering all those questions. I mean, I would ask the girls, I'd pick them up, hey, what did you learn at school today? Nothing. I know you learned something. You have to give me something. Tell me one thing. But we would have these conversations and talk, and they're not always going to do it. And some days they kept jumping in the car and said, guess what we talked? And I'll be like, I don't really care. But no, I didn't say that. But it was, we have to be careful. We need to listen. We need to be mindful about what's going on. And the fourth thing is prepare your children for the battles they're going to face. Listen, as an adult, you know there's a lot of things out there in this world that's going to be eating at our children, coming after them. And there's probably more things, ways that is coming to them that we don't even understand because of the electronic age that we're living in, that we didn't go through it when we were younger. But listen, prepare them. Things are going to happen. Let them know what's going on. Number 5, help your family correctly interpret guilt. When something happens, listen, they need to know who to go to, that you're going to love them, that you're not going to beat them because they did something they shouldn't be doing. You need to love on them and understand, because if you don't allow them to come to you at the beginning, they're never going to come to you. You have to be available to them. 6th thing is realize that, listen, only God can change the heart of your child. I can't change your child. I was a youth pastor for a long time. I can't change your child. Daniel back there in the back cannot change your child. He cannot change your grandchildren. Listen, as hard as you try, you're not going to be successful all the time in changing the heart of your child. That's why, listen, I believe as parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, we need to be on our knees praying and talking to God, because God's the one that can change the heart. So we need to be praying for our kids, praying for them that God will protect them from the things that are going through, the things that are around them. Listen, they get old enough, they're 27 years old, and they live on the other side of the world, literally. I can't be there to protect her from things that happened to her last year. But I can pray and talk to God. You need to be praying for your kids. Oh my goodness, you need to be praying for them. And the last thing is learn for yourself and teach your children that they ought to love God more than they love sin. Love God more than love sin. So that's the things we're going to talk about next week. And I say this all the time, probably every week, but I've enjoyed going through these things because there's a lot of things that not just I'm able to do in the teaching way here in class, but I'm learning a lot of things for myself. And so I've enjoyed going through these things and studying this because it makes me have to study and learn, and I enjoy it, and I really do. And so I hope you're learning something that you can take and use even in your home today. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for your blessings to us. God, thank you for loving us. Thank you for your protection that you offer us. And God, I pray that we will, as parents, as grandparents, as aunts and uncles, excuse me, God, I pray that we will be smart about these things that's going on in our world today. God, help for us not to just brush it under the rug. Help for us to know what's happening. Be involved with our children. God, the devil is trying to rip and tear them apart. So God, our kids need us to love them, to pray for them, to show them scripturally what's important, to teach them about God. But God, also, we're not meant to be just their best friend. We're meant to be their parent. So God, I pray that we will be the parents that we need to be to protect our children. So God, I lift up our children tonight. God, all the ones that are in the back, in a WANA program, even our young adults, they're still our children. And God, I pray that you will be with them, our teen class back in the back as well. God, I pray that you'll protect them. God, help for us to love them the way that we should, to show them your word, teach them. So God, we thank you for your word that gives us all these things to be able to learn from. So God, we lift them up to you and ask for your protection. And God, I pray that you'll protect our hearts too. Help for us to seek you the way that we should. And God, if we're not doing what we need to be doing, God, help for us to make a change. So God, we love you. We thank you for what you've done and what you're going to do in our church, in our class.